You want to control your mind? But here's the truth. It's already trying to escape. Right now, it's whispering,
Skip this. Play a song. Scroll for something better.
that voice? That's not you. That's the programming, trained by the world to keep you distracted and controllable. But resisting that tiny urge to click away, that's your first victory. In this video, you'll learn how to influence others, and most importantly, break free from the mental traps that quietly shape your behavior. So, put your earphones in, lie down, let the world fade out. This is your beginning. The power of your mind, understanding its influence. The power of your mind is something you carry every day, often without realizing its weight. It shapes how you see the world, how you react to others, and even how your body feels, not through magic or mysticism, but through the quiet, constant rhythm of your thoughts. Right now, as you lie still, listening, your mind is already at work, deciding what to believe, what to ignore, and what to hold on to. It filters every piece of reality through a lens you've built over a lifetime, sometimes carefully, sometimes unconsciously. But it's there, always working, always influencing. Let's think about something curious, something that reveals just how deep this influence goes. The placebo effect. It sounds like a trick, a sugar pill, an empty treatment. Yet, it works. People given nothing more than belief often feel better, heal faster, experience less pain. Why? Because their minds believe they're healing, and the body follows that belief. That's the power of perception, the power of expectation. It shows that the line between what we think and what we experience is thinner than we believe. Now consider your day, not the big events, but the quiet thoughts, the silent narratives that pass through your mind without resistance. I'm not good enough. I'm always anxious. Nothing ever works for me. If thoughts like these repeat over and over, they don't just stay in your head. They begin to bend reality. You stop taking chances. You notice only the failures. You see yourself through a tinted mirror, and that mirror starts to become truth. But the opposite is also true. A small shift in belief. I'm learning. I'm healing. I'm stronger than yesterday. Can begin to change your world. Slowly, gently, like water wearing down stone. Your mind opens a new path, and suddenly, new outcomes appear. It's not always fast. It's not always obvious, but it's real. Even your body responds. Studies have shown that positive beliefs can reduce stress hormones, ease inflammation, and improve sleep. All through thought, through the stories you tell yourself in silence. That's why awareness is the first step to control. Begin to notice your mental tone. Catch the thoughts that tighten your chest. Listen to the ones that soften it. The first step to control. Awareness. The first step in controlling your mind is simple, yet profoundly powerful. Awareness. It might seem like an obvious concept, but in our fast-paced world, it's often the most overlooked. Awareness isn't just about being conscious of your surroundings or knowing what's happening at the moment. It's a deeper, quieter form of mindfulness, one that allows you to notice the patterns of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment or distraction. Imagine you're sitting in a room, surrounded by noise. There's a constant hum, thoughts whirling, feelings tugging at you, distractions pulling you in different directions. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, isn't it? But if you take a step back and bring awareness to the noise itself, something changes. You stop identifying with the noise. You see it for what it is, a flow of thoughts, a passing wave of emotions, and suddenly, you're not swept away by it anymore. You're an observer. This shift is where the power lies. Awareness gives you the space to choose how to respond, rather than simply reacting without thought. It's like being a passenger in your own mind, gently steering yourself, rather than allowing the current of thoughts to dictate where you go. Mindfulness is one of the most effective ways to cultivate this awareness. It teaches you to pause and become present in each moment without judgment. It's like holding up a mirror to your own mind, allowing you to see your thoughts as they arise, without becoming entangled in them. This is the first step to self-regulation. A powerful example of how awareness works in real life is through the practice of mindfulness. A case study in mindfulness showed how individuals who practiced daily meditation and mindfulness were able to better regulate their emotions and responses to stress. Instead of reacting impulsively or being carried away by their feelings, they were able to pause, breathe, and choose a more thoughtful response. This didn't make the stress disappear, but it gave them control over how they engaged with it. Imagine for a moment that you're feeling stressed at work, a deadline looming and the pressure building. If you're not aware of your thoughts, they might spiral into anxiety, worry, or even panic. But with mindfulness, you can step back, acknowledge the stress, and instead of letting it control you, you control your reaction. Maybe you take a deep breath, refocus, and take the task step by step, rather than allowing your thoughts to overwhelm you. That pause, that awareness, is the foundation of true control. Mindfulness is also about embracing your emotions without letting them take over. We all experience anger, sadness, frustration, and joy. But when we're unaware, these emotions can hijack our behavior. By practicing mindfulness, we create a space where emotions are acknowledged, but don't drive our decisions. In this space, we become more grounded, centered, and in tune with the present moment. Awareness also means becoming conscious of our habits, our automatic reactions, our patterns of thinking, and the stories we tell ourselves. Often, we don't realize that the way we think can create unnecessary stress, reinforce negative beliefs, or hold us back from our true potential. But once we bring awareness to those patterns, we can start to shift them. Instead of staying trapped in old ways of thinking, we gain the ability to change. It's not about perfection. It's about being present, being aware, and learning to guide yourself with intention. The more you practice mindfulness, the more aware you become of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And as your awareness grows, so does your control. It's like planting the seed for self-regulation, one tiny moment of awareness at a time. Distractions, the silent enemy. Have you ever sat down to do something important, only to find yourself, minutes later, mindlessly scrolling through your phone? It happens more often than we care to admit, and that's the quiet, invisible nature of distractions. They don't crash into your day like a storm. They slip in softly, unnoticed, and take control before you even realize it. Distractions are everywhere. Notifications buzzing, social media updates, messages, noise, thoughts pulling you away. It's all so subtle, but over time, these small interruptions chip away at your attention, your focus, your energy, and eventually, your purpose. They become a silent enemy, stealing your most valuable resource, your time. You may think, it's just 5 minutes, but those moments stack up. Every ping from your phone hijacks your mind's momentum. Each switch of attention forces your brain to reset. This is called attention residue, the leftover mental clutter from switching tasks. Even when you try to return to what you were doing, a part of your mind stays stuck in the distraction. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine someone sits down to study or work. They hear a notification, just a quick check, then another. Suddenly, they're watching videos, or scrolling through reels. What began as a moment turns into half an hour. They return to their task, but their focus is fractured, their energy is lower, and their motivation has faded. This isn't rare. It's the norm in a world built to compete for your attention. But here's what's even more important. Distractions don't just come from the outside. Sometimes they come from within. Daydreams, worries, urges to check something, feelings of boredom or discomfort. Your own mind becomes a source of escape, especially when the present moment feels dull or challenging. And in escaping discomfort, you lose something vital. Your ability to be present, to engage fully, to think deeply. Distractions rob you of control. You think you're choosing what to do, but in reality, you're being pulled. And the more you follow these urges, the stronger they become. Your brain learns to crave novelty, instant gratification, and constant stimulation. Focus becomes harder. Restlessness grows, and stillness becomes uncomfortable. But there's a way out. It begins with noticing. Become aware of when you get distracted. What pulls you away? Is it your phone? A thought? A craving? Pause and ask yourself, why did I reach for that? Awareness creates a space between the impulse and the action. And in that space lies your power to choose. Start with small steps. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Set boundaries for when and where you check messages. Create environments that support focus. Quiet, uncluttered, free of temptation. But most importantly, train your mind to sit with stillness. Practice being present, even if it's uncomfortable at first. It builds strength. Mindfulness and meditation are powerful tools in this process. They teach you to observe your thoughts without reacting to them. With practice, you learn to gently return your focus to the present over and over again. That's how mental discipline is built. Through the quiet, repeated act of returning. You don't have to eliminate all distractions. That's not realistic. But you can learn to manage them, to notice them, and to choose differently. Each moment of regained focus is a small victory. And over time, those victories turn into a life of intention. Distractions will always be there, silent, tempting, and easy to follow. But now, you're aware. And awareness is the beginning of control. The importance of focus and clarity. In a world that never stops moving, clarity and focus have quietly become rare superpowers. We're constantly pulled in different directions. Notifications buzz, thoughts wander, and before we know it, an hour has passed, and we haven't done what we set out to do. But focus isn't just about working harder. It's about working with intention. When your mind is clear, free from clutter, and your attention is sharp, you enter a state where time seems to slow down. You're not distracted, you're present. And in that space, you unlock the ability to think deeply, act purposefully, and create with power. Let's take a real example. The Pomodoro technique. It's a simple method, 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a 5-minute break. You repeat this cycle 4 times, then take a longer break. Sounds basic, but its impact can be profound. People who struggle with procrastination or mental fatigue often find that this structured rhythm helps them stay engaged and less overwhelmed. Why? Because it respects the way the brain works, sprints of focused effort, balanced by short moments of recovery. Focus is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. But like any muscle, it needs clarity to function well. Imagine trying to lift weights in a dark, cluttered room. You might manage it, but you'll trip more often. Similarly, when your mind is foggy, filled with worries, unfinished tasks, or distractions, focus becomes harder. Clarity clears the mental space, so focus can take over. Clarity begins with knowing what matters most. If everything is important, nothing truly is. So each day, ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if I get it done, will make today feel meaningful? That single question creates a thread of direction through the noise. Here's the paradox. The more you try to do at once, the less you get done. Multitasking splits your attention, weakens your performance, and increases stress. But when you slow down, choose one task, and give it your full presence, something shifts. You enter a state of flow, where action feels effortless and distractions fall away. Many high performers, writers, athletes, inventors, protect their focus like a sacred ritual. They create routines, remove noise, and build mental environments where clarity can thrive. They don't just chase productivity, they pursue presence. Because presence is where real progress lives, clarity also means knowing when to stop. When the brain is overworked, it stops thinking clearly. That's why rest isn't a reward, it's part of the process. Taking time to breathe, reflect, or walk in silence isn't wasted time. It's where ideas simmer and insights emerge. So how do you protect your focus? First, reduce the noise. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Set specific times for deep work. Even 30 minutes of undistracted effort can outperform hours of scattered energy. Next, create mental clarity. Journal. Prioritize. Clear the mental clutter so your thoughts have space to breathe. And finally, treat your attention like currency. Spend it wisely. Every moment you give to something meaningless is a moment taken from something that matters. Focus doesn't just help you get things done. It helps you live on purpose. And clarity? That's the compass. Together, they give you the power to move through your life. Not in a blur, but with quiet strength and deliberate intent. Mastering your inner voice. There's a voice inside your head that speaks to you every single day. It comments on what you do, how you look, what you say, and how you feel. Sometimes it's kind and encouraging. Other times, it's harsh, quietly whispering doubts, judgments, and criticism. This voice is your inner dialogue, and whether you realize it or not, it's shaping the story you live by. Your inner voice can either be your greatest ally or your most subtle enemy. It's not the loud moments of fear that often break you. It's the quiet, repetitive thoughts that say, "You're not good enough. You always mess things up. Why even try?" Left unchecked, these messages build a distorted version of who you are, and over time, you start to believe them. That belief, more than anything, begins to shape your choices, your confidence, and your path forward. But here's the truth. Your inner voice is not fixed. It's not a truth teller. It's a habit, a pattern you've learned, sometimes from childhood, sometimes from failure, or comparison, or fear. And like any habit, it can be changed. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine someone named Daniel. For years, he battled negative self-talk. Every time he started a new goal, whether it was applying for a job, starting a relationship, or speaking up in meetings, his inner voice would whisper, "You're not smart enough. They won't take you seriously." As a result, Daniel often stayed silent. He avoided risk. He gave up before trying. One day during therapy, Daniel was asked a simple question. Would you ever speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself? That question shook him. He realized that his inner critic wasn't protecting him. It was holding him back. Slowly, he began the work of changing that voice. Instead of letting his thoughts run wild, he started to observe them. He wrote them down, challenged them, asked, "Is this actually true?" And over time, he began replacing old scripts with new ones. "I've made mistakes, but I'm learning. I may be nervous, but I can try anyway." I don't need to be perfect to be worthy. The shift wasn't instant, but it was powerful. Daniel didn't just feel better. He started to show up differently, more grounded, more confident, more alive. That's the power of mastering your inner voice. It's not about pretending everything's perfect or forcing fake positivity. It's about speaking to yourself with truth and kindness, about challenging lies and building a voice that supports your growth, not your fear. So how do you begin? Start by listening, not just to what you say out loud, but to what you whisper in your mind when things go wrong. Pay attention to the tone. Is it critical? Harsh? Defeated? Now ask yourself, hey, is this voice helping me become who I want to be? If not, it's time to change it. Next, practice self-compassion. Speak to yourself the way you would to someone you love. When you fail, don't attack yourself. Say, that was hard, but I'm learning. It didn't go well, but I'm still here, still trying. Over time, your brain rewires, and your self-dialogue becomes a safe place, not a battlefield. Mastering your inner voice doesn't mean silencing fear. It means creating space for courage. It means recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the one listening to them. And you have the power to choose a new story. How thoughts become actions. Every action begins with a thought. Before you lift a hand, speak a word, or take a single step, there's a whisper in the mind. Sometimes it's loud and clear. Other times, it lingers beneath awareness, shaping your choices from the shadows. But whether you're conscious of it or not, your thoughts are building the path you walk on. The mind doesn't just reflect your world, it creates it. A single belief can change the way you move through your day. If you think, I'm not good enough, you might shrink away from opportunity. If you think, I can figure this out, you begin. That's the quiet power of thought. It leads, and the body, the words, the decisions, they follow. There's a reason this link feels so real. The brain forms patterns, and patterns become habits. Imagine waking each morning and thinking, today's going to be overwhelming. That thought becomes a lens. You begin to notice every inconvenience, feel drained faster, and struggle to focus. But the thought came first. It was the spark that shaped the fire. Now consider someone who trains their thinking to be gentle, curious, open. It doesn't mean they avoid hardship. Oh, it means they approach it differently. They ask, what can I learn here? Instead of, why is this happening to me? Over time, that shift in thinking alters how they react. Less panic, more presence. Thought becomes response. Response becomes behavior. A powerful example comes from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. A person stuck in cycles of anxiety learns to question their thoughts, slowly replacing fear-driven patterns with more balanced perspectives. As they shift the thought, their actions change too. They take more social risks, speak up, relax into uncertainty, and life begins to feel wider. It's not magic, it's rewiring. Thoughts lay down tracks in the brain, and each time a thought is followed by action, that track strengthens, like footprints in sand, walked over again and again. Eventually, those paths become default routes. But here's the beauty. The brain can build new tracks. It's never too late to reroute. The first step is noticing, becoming aware of what you think in moments of stress, joy, boredom. Not judging it, just observing. Then you gently ask, is this thought helping me? Is it guiding me toward the person I want to be? If not, you begin the shift. Slowly, patiently, because every great transformation, every bold act of courage or kindness began with a single quiet thought, a thought that said, this matters. I can do this. Let's begin. Your thoughts are not just passing clouds. They are the architects of your reality. And the more care you take in choosing them, the more powerful and peaceful your actions become. The role of willpower in mind control. Willpower is the inner strength that separates impulse from intention. It's the quiet force that allows you to say no when everything around you says yes. When you're faced with a craving, a distraction, or an emotion pulling you off course, willpower is what brings you back to center. It's not about being perfect. It's about being conscious, choosing the long-term gain over the short-term rush. Think of an athlete preparing for the Olympics. Every day, they wake before dawn. They train even when their body aches, even when motivation fades. It's not passion alone that keeps them going. It's willpower. A disciplined voice within that reminds them what matters most. They've learned to silence the noise, to say no to late nights, unhealthy food, or excuses. That control isn't accidental. It's trained, strengthened like a muscle. In our daily lives, this plays out in quieter ways. You feel the urge to check your phone during work, but you don't. You crave junk food late at night, but you pause and choose something better. These moments seem small, but they build identity. Every time you choose your values over your urges, you reinforce who you are. You become the person who is in control. But willpower isn't infinite. It's a resource. Studies show that after long periods of decision-making or resisting temptation, people often give in more easily. That's why structure matters. Planning your environment, reducing friction, surrounding yourself with reminders of your goals. Willpower grows stronger, not just through struggle, but through strategy. Take the story of someone recovering from addiction. In the beginning, the urge to relapse is powerful, but with support, boundaries, and inner commitment, they resist. Each day they say no. Their identity changes. They go from someone trying to quit to someone who is free. That transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of willpower showing up again and again. But this force isn't about harsh self-control. True willpower is gentle. It's the steady hand on the wheel during emotional storms. It doesn't yell. It guides. It gives you space between thought and action. Space to breathe, reflect, and choose. The more you honor that space, the more control you gain over your mind. And when your mind is in alignment with your actions, life begins to feel more peaceful. You're not constantly reacting. You're leading with clarity, with strength, with purpose. Because mastering your mind doesn't mean never feeling temptation. It means not being ruled by it. Willpower is the gatekeeper, the steady rhythm that keeps your path clear, even when the world tries to pull you away. Building mental resilience. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It's about bending without breaking. It's the strength you don't realize you have until life tests you. It's the quiet inner engine that keeps going even when everything else is falling apart. When setbacks arrive, and they will, mental resilience is what allows you to breathe, adapt, and rise again. Imagine someone who's lost their job unexpectedly. The panic hits, the doubts, the fear, the what now? But instead of shutting down, they regroup. They rewrite their resume, reach out for help, and begin the long, uncertain journey forward. This isn't because they feel no pain. It's because they've learned how to navigate it. Resilience isn't about ignoring struggle. It's about finding your center within it. Research shows that resilient people don't avoid negative emotions. They feel them fully, but they don't get stuck. They allow grief, frustration, and fear to move through them. Then they step forward anyway. They ask, "What can I learn from this?" And, "What's my next move?" This mindset doesn't make the pain go away, but it gives it purpose. Mental resilience also means rewriting the story you tell yourself. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" it becomes, "What is this teaching me?" That shift alone can change everything. It transforms you from a passive victim of life into an active participant, someone who sees even adversity as part of growth. Take someone recovering from a major accident. Their body changes. Their life changes. But the strongest survivors often aren't just physically rehabilitated. They've mentally redefined who they are. They let go of who they used to be and build something new from the ashes. That kind of transformation only comes from resilience. It doesn't mean you have to be strong every second. Resilience includes rest. It includes breaking down and getting back up. It includes asking for help. In fact, connection is a major part of mental strength. Those who bounce back often lean on loved ones, therapists, or mentors. They don't see vulnerability as weakness. They see it as a resource. And you can train resilience. Like willpower, it's a muscle. Daily challenges, small or large, are opportunities to build it. Every time you face discomfort without avoiding it, you become more mentally tough. Every time you reflect instead of react, you're shaping your mind into a space that can weather storms. Because life will always bring change, loss, and difficulty. You can't control that. But you can control how you respond. Mental resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about knowing that even if you fall, you'll get up again, stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. Mind over matter, controlling physical reactions. Your mind isn't just a place where thoughts live. It's a command center, wired directly to your body, capable of shaping how you feel physically. The phrase mind over matter isn't a cliché. It's a real, powerful truth. With the right mental tools, people have trained themselves to manage pain, stress, and even fatigue, all through the control of thought. Think of elite athletes. In the middle of exhausting training sessions or high-stakes competitions, they push through pain that would make most people stop. Not because their bodies are different, but because their minds are. They've trained themselves to shift focus, to breathe through stress, to talk themselves into calm and strength, even when their muscles are screaming. Mental toughness, not just physical power, is what separates good athletes from great ones. Take long-distance runners. When their legs feel like concrete and their lungs burn, they rely on visualization, seeing the finish line, hearing the crowd, imagining the feeling of completion. This mental imagery activates parts of the brain that actually reduce the sensation of pain. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. Even outside of sports, this principle shows up. Mindfulness practitioners, for example, use breath and body awareness to manage chronic pain. Studies show that when people focus on pain without judgment, just observing it, instead of fearing or fighting it, they experience less discomfort. Their brains change. Their bodies relax. They become more in control. Stress, too, is deeply tied to the mind. When you anticipate danger, your brain triggers a cascade. Heart rate increases, breathing shortens, muscles tighten. But through techniques like meditation or controlled breathing, you can slow this chain reaction. You can calm your body with your thoughts. The stress doesn't vanish, but your body learns not to overreact. The most remarkable part, anyone can learn this. It doesn't require superhuman discipline. It starts with awareness. When you feel pain, instead of instantly reacting, pause. Observe it. Ask yourself, is this pain threatening me? Or is it something I can work with? That tiny shift in perspective opens the door to control. Mental conditioning is also about repetition. Just like lifting weights strengthens muscles, practicing mental techniques like breathing, self-talk, visualization strengthens your ability to manage the body. Over time, your tolerance grows, your recovery improves, your mind becomes an ally instead of a source of panic. This is the true power of mind over matter. It's not about ignoring the body. It's about mastering your response to it. And when you do, you gain something that can't be shaken: the ability to remain calm, focused, and in control, no matter what your body is going through. The role of meditation in mental control. In a world filled with noise, urgency, and constant distractions, your mind is always racing, planning, worrying, comparing, reacting. But imagine for a moment that you could quiet that storm, that you could sit still, and instead of being pulled by your thoughts, you could watch them gently float by. That's the essence of meditation, and it's one of the most powerful tools for mastering the mind. Meditation isn't about escaping reality or silencing every thought. It's about learning to observe your mind without getting entangled in it. Through this quiet observation, you begin to see how your thoughts work, how they rise, how they fade, and how much control they often have over your emotions. The moment you notice this, you reclaim your power. Scientific studies consistently show how meditation can reshape the brain. Regular practice strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for focus, decision-making, and self-control. At the same time, it reduces activity in the amygdala, which governs fear and emotional reactivity. This means that with meditation, you don't just feel calmer, you become mentally stronger. Consider the case of someone who struggled with constant anxiety. Their mind was always in overdrive, jumping from one worry to the next. But after incorporating just 10 minutes of meditation into their morning routine, things began to shift. They weren't perfect or endlessly calm, but they started noticing the pause between thought and reaction. That pause changed everything. They learned to catch their spiraling thoughts before they took over. Over time, the anxiety loosened its grip. Meditation also improves focus. It trains the mind to return to a single point of attention: your breath, a sound, a word. And every time your thoughts drift and you bring them back, you're strengthening your mental muscles. It's like doing reps at the gym, but for attention. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to concentrate, not just during meditation, but in daily life. The beauty of meditation is that it doesn't require a special setting. You don't need a mountaintop or incense or hours of free time. Just a few quiet minutes, a moment to sit, breathe, and notice. And in that space, you begin to build control, not by force, but by awareness. Over time, you'll realize something powerful. Your thoughts don't have to control you. You can observe them, understand them, and choose how to respond. Meditation creates this space, the space where clarity grows, where reactions soften, and where your inner world becomes a place of strength, not chaos. The psychology of habit formation. Have you ever wondered why certain routines stick while others fade away? Why some people seem effortlessly disciplined while others struggle to make a single change last? The answer lies in the quiet power of habits, the invisible architecture of our daily lives. What you do repeatedly, even in small doses, shapes who you become. Habits are your brain's way of saving energy. Instead of making hundreds of tiny decisions every day, your mind automates tasks: brushing your teeth, scrolling through your phone, reaching for that morning coffee. These behaviors start as conscious choices, but over time, they become hardwired routines. And that's where their true power lies. The process of habit formation follows a simple psychological loop: cue, routine, reward. A cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is what your brain gets out of it: pleasure, relief, or a sense of accomplishment. Once this loop repeats enough times, it becomes automatic. Take the example of someone trying to improve their health. Instead of overhauling their entire lifestyle, they begin with one small habit: drinking a glass of water every morning. That's it. But within weeks, this simple act becomes a trigger for more mindful choices. They start walking a bit more, eating better, sleeping earlier. Each small shift compounds like drops in a bucket, and slowly their identity begins to shift from someone trying to be healthy to someone who is healthy. That's the secret of habit psychology. Small changes, done consistently, reshape your self-image. And once your identity shifts, staying on track becomes effortless. You're no longer forcing change, you're living it. But it's not always easy. The early stages of building a habit require deliberate effort. Your brain resists change because new behaviors demand energy. That's why it's crucial to make habits obvious, attractive, and easy. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow. Want to exercise? Lay out your shoes the night before. These small nudges help your brain associate the cue with the new behavior. There will be days when motivation fades. That's normal. But psychology shows that success doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency. Missing a day doesn't break the habit. Quitting does. So even when it feels like progress is slow, remember, every repetition is a vote for the person you're becoming. What's most empowering is this: habits don't just change what you do, they change how you think about yourself. The act of showing up for yourself day after day rewires your mind. It builds self-trust, confidence, and clarity. And over time, those invisible choices lead to visible transformation. Creating a positive mindset. A positive mindset isn't just about smiling through hard times or pretending everything is perfect. It's about training your brain to look for possibilities instead of problems. It's about shifting from "what if I fail" to "what if this changes everything?" And that shift, small as it may seem, can change the course of your life. Science shows us that optimism is more than wishful thinking. It's a mental habit, one that rewires how we interpret events, face challenges, and recover from setbacks. People with a positive outlook tend to live longer, experience less stress, and even heal faster. Their minds act like internal compasses, guiding them through uncertainty with calm, clarity, and confidence. Consider this real-world case. In a study of recovering heart surgery patients, those with an optimistic mindset were significantly more likely to follow through with rehab, maintain healthier habits, and experience quicker recoveries. It wasn't just medicine that healed them. It was their belief in the possibility of healing. Optimism changes how we process failure. Instead of seeing setbacks as permanent, positive thinkers view them as temporary detours. This perspective fuels resilience. It's not that they don't experience pain or fear. It's that they believe they can move through it. And that belief pushes them forward when others give up. But how do you create this mindset? It starts small. You can train your brain to find silver linings by reflecting on 3 good things each day. You can reframe your self-talk from "I can't do this" to "I'll find a way." Over time, these micro shifts create macro change. The most powerful part? A positive mindset is contagious. Your energy influences the people around you. Optimism spreads, and when you begin to look for the good, you'll start to create more of it, not just for yourself, but for everyone you touch. The power of visualization. What if you could rehearse success before it even happens? What if your mind could train your body without moving a muscle? That's the power of visualization. It's not fantasy. It's a mental technique used by world-class performers, especially athletes, to prepare for real-world outcomes with incredible accuracy. Visualization is the process of imagining a future scenario so vividly that your brain and body begin to believe it's real. When you mentally rehearse actions, whether it's shooting a basketball, giving a speech, or staying calm in a stressful moment, your brain activates the same neural pathways as it would during the actual event. This primes your nervous system, sharpening your focus, confidence, and physical execution. Take Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps. Before every race, he would close his eyes and mentally swim every stroke of his event. He visualized the water, the sound, the pace, even the worst-case scenarios. One day, his goggles filled with water during a competition, just like in his mental rehearsal. Because he had already faced that moment in his mind, he didn't panic. He won. This isn't just about sports. Visualization can help anyone, from a student preparing for an exam to someone navigating a difficult conversation. It trains your brain to expect success. And when the mind expects success, the body follows. But it only works when it's detailed. Vague hope won't change your brain. You need to picture the environment, feel the emotions, and engage all your senses. The more real it feels, the more powerful the effect. When you visualize consistently, your mind builds a blueprint of achievement. You start to act in alignment with the version of yourself you've imagined. And soon, that imagined version becomes your reality. You're not daydreaming. You're preparing. You're priming your mind to step into the moments that matter, with confidence, presence, and clarity. And that can make all the difference. Mental detox, cleansing your mind from negativity. Your mind is a garden, constantly growing whatever seeds you plant. But in today's world, it's easy to let that garden become overgrown, with worry, comparison, and noise. A mental detox is not about escaping life. It's about creating space to reconnect with what really matters. Think of how often you're flooded with information. Notifications, headlines, endless scrolling. Every swipe adds a new voice to your inner world. And not all of them are kind. Social media, in particular, can quietly shape your mood, your self-worth, and your perspective, without you even realizing it. Take the real-life example of people who step away from social media, even briefly. A study by the University of Bath found that taking just 1 week off, platforms like Instagram and Twitter significantly improved mental health. Participants reported lower anxiety, better sleep, and a clearer mind. Why? Because they gave their brain a break from constant comparison and emotional overload. Negativity thrives in clutter. When your mind is constantly stimulated, there's no room to process, reflect, or reset. That's where detoxing comes in. It's about becoming intentional with what you consume and protecting the mental space that helps you feel calm and centered. A mental detox can be as simple as turning off notifications for a day, spending an hour in silence, or going for a walk without your phone. It's not about rejecting technology. It's about reclaiming your mental clarity. When you step away from the noise, you start to notice your own voice again. Your thoughts slow down. Your breath deepens. And gradually the fog lifts. You begin to see what's weighing you down. Old fears, comparisons, unnecessary guilt. And in that awareness, you create the opportunity to release them. Mental detoxing isn't a one-time cleanse. It's a practice, a habit of regularly clearing space for your mind to breathe. The more often you do it, the stronger your internal world becomes. You start choosing what stays in your mind and what has no place there. Remember, your peace is precious. It doesn't just happen. It's something you protect, moment by moment. In a world filled with noise, silence becomes a superpower. In a world full of pressure, presence becomes your anchor. And sometimes, the most powerful way to move forward is to simply unplug, pause, and let your mind come home to stillness. How to quiet the noise in your mind. Your mind can be a sanctuary or a storm, and some days it's hard to tell which one you're walking into. Thoughts race, doubts whisper, old memories resurface without warning. You try to focus, but your brain spins in circles. This is the noise, and you're not alone in it. We all experience intrusive thoughts, unwanted ideas or worries that seem to appear out of nowhere. They are often irrational, but they feel real. They can disrupt your peace, affect your mood, and make you question your sense of control. But here's the truth. Having intrusive thoughts doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're human. The key is learning how to manage them, not fight them. One powerful approach is called cognitive diffusion, a technique used in acceptance and commitment therapy. Rather than arguing with your thoughts or trying to block them, diffusion teaches you to separate from them. Imagine your mind like a train station. Thoughts come and go like trains. You don't have to board everyone. You can simply watch them pass. Take a real-life example from mindfulness-based therapies. People struggling with anxiety were taught to observe their thoughts with curiosity instead of fear. When a negative thought arose, like, "I'm going to fail," they learned to say, "I'm having the thought that I'm going to fail." This small shift creates distance. Suddenly, the thought isn't a fact. It's just a mental event, a cloud drifting by, a noise you don't have to turn up. Another technique is grounding through the senses. When your thoughts feel too loud, reconnect with the present moment. What do you see, hear, feel, taste? Naming 5 things around you can anchor your awareness back to now, where the mind quiets and the body feels safe. Journaling can also help externalize the chaos. When you write your thoughts down, they lose their edge. They stop swirling and start settling. What once felt overwhelming becomes something you can observe, reflect on, and release. And most importantly, self-compassion is your inner silence. When the noise gets too loud, remind yourself gently, it's okay to feel this way. You're learning, you're healing. You don't have to have it all figured out. Silencing the mind isn't about achieving perfect peace. It's about creating enough space inside to hear your own truth beneath the noise. The power of persuasion. How we influence others. Persuasion is a powerful tool. In fact, you're influenced by it every single day, often without even realizing it. Think about the last time you bought something. Was it something you really needed? Or was it a clever advertisement that convinced you? This is the art of persuasion at work. When you're exposed to advertisements, whether on TV, social media, or even through word of mouth, your mind begins to process these messages in ways that guide your behavior. Advertisers carefully craft their campaigns using persuasive techniques that tap into your desires, needs, and emotions. They understand that your decision-making isn't always rational. Instead, it's often emotional. And this is where the power of persuasion shines through. Take, for example, the ads you see for new products. Many use the principle of scarcity, the idea that something is limited or in short supply, which makes you desire it more. Only a few left, or limited time offer, creates a sense of urgency. This simple strategy can push you to make a decision faster, without taking the time to fully consider whether you really need the product. Persuasion works on a deeper level too. Social proof, another persuasive technique, plays a significant role in shaping our choices. When you see a product being advertised as the best seller, or most recommended. It taps into your natural tendency to trust what others do. If everyone else is buying it, it must be good, right? But it's not just about products. Political campaigns use similar tactics. A politician may frame their message to appeal to your emotions, framing their opponent as a threat to your values, while promoting themselves as the solution to your problems. Through persuasive language, they gain your trust and influence your choices at the polls. On a more personal level, we all use persuasion in everyday life. Maybe it's asking someone to do a favor, or persuading a friend to join you for dinner at a certain place. It's subtle, but it's present in nearly every interaction. The more you understand persuasion, the better you can navigate the world around you, and also protect yourself from being swayed by messages that don't align with your values. Persuasion is all around us, shaping our decisions, behavior, and thoughts. Once you start to notice it, you'll realize just how much influence others have on your life. But the key is awareness. By understanding how persuasion works, you can make more informed decisions and stay in control of your actions instead of being unknowingly led by outside forces. The role of body language in influence. We often hear the phrase, "Actions speak louder than words," and in many situations, this couldn't be more true. Body language is an incredibly powerful form of communication. It's a language all on its own, one that doesn't rely on words, but on movements, gestures, and posture. Without even realizing it, your body communicates your thoughts and emotions to others, and they do the same in return. When we communicate, our words only account for part of the message. In fact, studies suggest that nonverbal communication can make up as much as 93% of the message being conveyed, with tone and body language playing the most significant role. Just think about how your body reacts when you're nervous. Your posture slouches, your hands fidget, or your legs tap. On the flip side, when you're confident, you stand tall, make eye contact, and keep your posture open. Body language influences the way people perceive us, often more than what we say. In a business meeting, for instance, someone with open body language, arms uncrossed, sitting up straight, sends a message of openness and confidence. In contrast, someone with crossed arms and downcast eyes might appear closed off or defensive, even if their words don't reflect that. Take a moment and think about how body language has shaped your personal interactions. Perhaps a handshake at the beginning of a job interview made you feel more comfortable or less confident based on the way it was given. Maybe someone's warm smile or tense posture made you feel accepted or uneasy. Body language can also change the direction of conversations. For example, if you're negotiating a deal and you notice the other person leaning forward, nodding, and maintaining eye contact, they may be signaling interest and agreement. However, if they are leaning back, avoiding eye contact, or crossing their arms, they could be signaling resistance or discomfort. By understanding these cues, you can adjust your approach, making the conversation smoother and more effective. The truth is, body language is a subtle yet powerful tool that can shape how we are perceived, influence others' responses, and even alter the course of a conversation. Recognizing these nonverbal signals, both in yourself and others, can give you a greater understanding of the unspoken dynamics at play. The influence of words. The art of effective communication. Words are more than just tools for communication. They hold the power to shape our reality. Through language, we express our thoughts, ideas, and emotions, but they also have the ability to influence others in profound ways. The way we speak, the words we choose, and the tone we use can all deeply affect how others perceive us and even how they feel. Take politicians, for example. Political speeches are often carefully crafted to elicit specific emotions and rally support. A politician may use emotive language to stir up feelings of hope, fear, or anger. When a leader speaks about the future, their choice of words can inspire people to act, vote, or join a cause. In times of crisis, the words they choose can either bring comfort or cause panic. For instance, when President Franklin D. Roosevelt delivered his famous line, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," his words helped to calm the nation during the Great Depression. Words have the power to frame an issue, to make us see something in a new light. The way a problem is described can change our perception of it entirely. In marketing, companies use language to evoke desire for their products. They don't just sell an item, they sell an emotion, an aspiration. Think about the slogans that stick in your mind. They don't just describe a product, they appeal to something deeper within you, your values, your dreams, your sense of belonging. Effective communication isn't just about the words themselves, though. It's also about how those words are delivered. Tone, pace, and emphasis can all alter the message. When a speaker raises their voice, they can create urgency. A slow, deliberate pace can make the message feel more thoughtful. When you choose your words carefully and deliver them with intention, you invite others to listen and engage more deeply. As you move through your own life, you might not always be aware of the influence your words have. But think about the last time you spoke to someone, whether it was a friend, colleague, or stranger. Did your words uplift them, inspire them, or calm them? Did they leave an impression? Understanding the power of words can help you become a more effective communicator, not just in your professional life, but also in your personal relationships. The right words can heal wounds, create connections, and influence change. Building trust. The foundation of influence. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, whether personal or professional. It's the invisible thread that connects us to others, allowing us to share, confide, and collaborate. Without trust, relationships fall apart, leaving both parties feeling vulnerable, uncertain, and disconnected. Building trust isn't something that happens overnight. It's earned slowly and steadily through consistent actions that demonstrate reliability, honesty, and respect. Think about someone you truly trust. What is it about them that makes you feel comfortable relying on them? Maybe it's their integrity or the way they've always kept their word. It's these small, everyday actions that build trust, brick by brick. Trust is also about vulnerability. When you open yourself up to someone, you're allowing them into your world, and this act itself can foster connection. However, it's important to remember that trust can easily be broken. A single lie, a broken promise, or an act of betrayal can shatter years of trust in an instant. Take, for example, a professional relationship. A colleague who consistently delivers on their promises and follows through on commitments builds trust with their team. However, if they suddenly miss deadlines or fail to communicate effectively, that trust begins to erode. Similarly, in personal relationships, once trust is broken, it's often difficult to rebuild. Rebuilding trust takes time, patience, and consistent effort, and even then, it may never return to its original state. Trust is a delicate balance. When it's present, it allows for deep, meaningful connections. But when it's lost, the foundation of a relationship crumbles. Understanding how trust is built and how fragile it can be is essential to cultivating stronger connections, whether with colleagues, friends, or loved ones. Social proof: how we are influenced by others. We've all been there, standing in a store or browsing online, uncertain about a product. But then you glance at the reviews, and suddenly you feel more confident in your decision. Thousands of people loved it. The product description reads, and just like that, you're more likely to buy it. This is social proof in action. Social proof is a psychological phenomenon where we look to others to guide our decisions, especially when we're uncertain or unfamiliar with something. It's the idea that if others are doing something or endorsing something, it must be worth doing or buying. This is why customer reviews, testimonials, and even social media endorsements can be so influential in shaping our decisions. Think about a time when you've chosen a restaurant or service based on online reviews. The more positive reviews you see, the more likely you are to trust the establishment. Conversely, a lack of reviews or negative feedback can make you hesitate or look elsewhere. Social proof works because it taps into our natural desire to conform. We don't want to be left out, and if others are endorsing something, we assume it must be a good choice. This principle is not limited to products and services. It's also prevalent in social interactions. You might notice it in group settings, where people tend to follow the actions of others. If everyone at a party is dancing, you might find yourself joining in, even if you initially didn't want to. This is social proof at work again. As the group's behavior influences your own actions, social proof is all around us, guiding our choices and behaviors. By understanding this psychological force, you can make more conscious decisions, ensuring that you're not just following the crowd, but making choices that align with your values. Reciprocity. The law of giving and receiving reciprocity is one of the most powerful psychological principles in human behavior. It's the idea that when someone does something for us, we feel a natural urge to return the favor. This dynamic drives a lot of interactions in our daily lives, from personal relationships to business transactions. A classic example of reciprocity in action is free samples. Think about the last time you walked through a mall or grocery store and were offered a free sample of food. Initially, you might have had no intention of buying the product, but after tasting it, you often feel compelled to make a purchase. Why? Because the simple act of offering you something for free triggers an unconscious sense of obligation to return the favor. This principle is widely used by businesses. Companies know that by offering something for free, they can significantly increase the chances of a sale. Free samples aren't just about giving away a product. They're about building trust and creating a sense of indebtedness. Even if you don't fully intend to buy the product, the feeling of reciprocity makes you more likely to give in to the sales pitch. Reciprocity can also be seen in online marketing. Free trials or bonus content are often used to get people to sign up or make purchases. The strategy is clear. Offer something of value first, and the consumer will feel more inclined to give something in return, whether it's money or loyalty. While the law of reciprocity can be a positive force in relationships, it's important to recognize when it's being used manipulatively. Once you become aware of it, you can make more conscious decisions about when to accept the gift and when to pass it up. The power of reciprocity is undeniable. It's a simple yet effective way to influence behavior, both consciously and unconsciously. Scarcity, the power of limited availability. Scarcity is a powerful psychological principle that makes us crave things more when we believe they are in limited supply. This drive is rooted in our evolutionary need to seize opportunities before they disappear. The feeling of scarcity often leads us to make decisions quickly, sometimes without fully considering all the facts. One of the most common ways scarcity is used in marketing is through limited time offers. You've probably seen them. Only 24 hours left. Or, hurry, only a few left in stock. These phrases trigger a sense of urgency, pushing us to make a purchase before the opportunity is gone. The thought that something is in short supply creates a fear of missing out, or FOMO, which can override rational decision-making. The scarcity principle doesn't just apply to products. It can also be used with services. Many online platforms offer limited time access to exclusive content or discounts, further increasing the pressure to act fast. This tactic works because we associate scarcity with value. If something is hard to get, it must be worth having, right? Scarcity taps into our desire to avoid loss, which can be a more powerful motivator than the desire to gain. We fear the idea of missing out on an opportunity, even if we didn't really want the item in the first place. By creating a sense of limited availability, marketers encourage faster, often emotional decision-making. However, while scarcity can drive sales, it's important to recognize its potential impact on your own decisions. Next time you're faced with a limited time offer, take a moment to ask yourself whether you truly need the item or if the pressure of scarcity is pushing you to act impulsively. The role of authority and influence. Authority figures have a tremendous ability to influence our decisions. From doctors to teachers, leaders to celebrities, we tend to trust and follow the advice of those who are seen as experts or figures of authority. This influence is based on our belief that they possess specialized knowledge or experience that we don't. A great example of authority's influence can be seen in the field of medicine. When a doctor prescribes a treatment or medication, most of us follow their advice without question. Why? Because we trust their expertise and training. We're conditioned to believe that their recommendations are in our best interest. The same principle applies in other areas of life. If a celebrity endorses a product, we often believe that it must be worth purchasing simply because of their status. This principle works so effectively because we associate authority with competence and reliability. People in positions of authority often have power over us, not just because of their knowledge, but also because of the social structures that elevate their status. When we see someone as an authority, we're more likely to trust their judgment, even if we don't fully understand the subject matter ourselves. Authority doesn't always have to come in the form of a formal title. A person's confidence, appearance, and body language can all signal authority. A leader who speaks with conviction and clarity is more likely to inspire trust, while someone who seems uncertain or unsure can undermine their authority. Recognizing the influence of authority is important, as it can sometimes lead us to make decisions we wouldn't otherwise make. Being aware of how authority shapes our choices can help us make more informed, balanced decisions, rather than simply following someone's guidance without questioning it. Emotional manipulation. How feelings drive our decisions. Emotions are some of the most powerful drivers of human behavior. When we make decisions, our feelings often outweigh logic or reason. Advertisers know this, which is why many ads rely heavily on emotional appeals to influence us. They understand that if they can evoke a strong emotional response, they can sell just about anything. Take, for example, the ads that focus on happiness. A commercial featuring a family smiling and enjoying their time together while using a product plays on feelings of joy and togetherness. It subtly implies that the product will bring more happiness into your life. Similarly, fear-based ads might use a message like, "Protect your family from harm with this security system." Fear is a powerful motivator that can drive people to take action. Advertisers also use nostalgia to evoke emotions. A commercial that reminds you of your childhood or a simpler time can make you feel warm and sentimental, often leading you to purchase a product because it taps into those fond memories. The emotional connection is so strong that it can override any rational hesitation. The emotional appeal in advertising isn't just about feeling good. It's also about triggering deeper emotional responses like guilt, pride, or empathy. Some campaigns use guilt to push us to donate to charity, while others use pride to convince us to buy luxury products. By connecting products with powerful emotions, advertisers make us feel like we're not just buying a product, we're buying an emotional experience. Understanding emotional manipulation in advertising can help you become a more conscious consumer. By recognizing when your emotions are being played on, you can make more thoughtful choices rather than being swept away by feelings. The power of framing. How information is presented. How information is presented can dramatically affect how we perceive it. This concept, known as framing, plays a significant role in shaping our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. In the media, the way a story is framed can lead us to see it from one perspective, while completely ignoring others. For example, when a news outlet covers a political issue, the choice of language, images, and even the order in which information is presented can influence our emotional response. A headline like, "Government Defends Economic Policies Amid Crisis," frames the story as an attempt at justification, potentially making us feel sympathetic to the government's actions. On the other hand, a headline like, "Citizens Suffer as Government Policies Fail," frames the same issue in a way that evokes frustration and anger toward the government. This is the power of framing. The same set of facts can be presented in multiple ways, but each version will produce a different emotional response based on how the story is framed. In the world of media, framing is a deliberate technique used to guide our emotions and shape our perceptions. Framing is also a powerful tool in advertising and political campaigns. The way a candidate presents themselves or their policies, framed in terms of hope, strength, or change, can influence public opinion and voting behavior. The key takeaway is that framing affects our reality. By being aware of how information is framed, we can become more critical consumers of news and media, helping us see beyond the surface and question the underlying intentions. Creating a sense of urgency. One of the most effective psychological strategies marketers use is creating a sense of urgency. When we perceive that an opportunity is fleeting or limited, we are more likely to act quickly. This principle taps into our fear of missing out, or FOMO, which can override our usual decision-making process. Take a moment to think about those flash sales or limited time offers you've seen online. When you see a countdown timer ticking down, or a message saying only a few items left in stock, what do you do? If you're like most people, you're more likely to buy quickly, even if you weren't planning on it. This feeling of urgency is designed to trigger a quick decision, bypassing the normal thought process. Marketers understand that the fear of losing out on a deal, product, or opportunity can lead us to act impulsively. It's why you see phrases like "hurry," "act now," plastered on ads. The urgency isn't just about the product. It's about creating a psychological pressure that pushes us toward action. The goal is simple. Get us to make a decision before we have time to second-guess ourselves. While urgency can increase sales, it's important to be aware of its influence. Recognizing when a situation is designed to make you act quickly can help you make more deliberate decisions rather than being driven by emotional pressure. Building a narrative. Shaping people's perception. The power of storytelling is undeniable. Whether through movies, books, or even everyday conversations, narratives shape how we perceive the world around us. Storytelling isn't just about entertaining us. It's a tool used to influence our beliefs, emotions, and decisions. In movies and books, the narrative isn't just a plotline. It's a carefully constructed framework designed to guide our perception. For example, Consider the hero's journey, a narrative structure used in countless films and books. We are introduced to a character who faces challenges, grows through adversity, and eventually overcomes obstacles. This narrative appeals to our innate desire for growth and triumph, influencing how we perceive the character and the story's message. Take the Star Wars saga, for instance. The hero, Luke Skywalker, begins as a farm boy with little experience, but grows into a wise and capable leader. The story presents challenges that Luke must face, which reflect the universal struggle for identity, purpose, and overcoming fear. This narrative resonates deeply because it taps into themes of transformation and self-discovery. In literature, authors shape our perception of characters and events through the details they include and the way they structure the story. A well-crafted narrative allows readers to empathize with the characters, feel their struggles, and ultimately see the world through their lens. This emotional connection influences how we view the story's themes and messages. By shaping the narrative, creators can influence how we feel, think, and even act. Storytelling is not just about telling a story. It's about shaping perception and influencing how we understand the world around us. Using reciprocity to build. Influence reciprocity is one of the most fundamental principles in human behavior. When someone gives us something, we often feel compelled to return the favor, even if we don't consciously think about it. This principle can be a powerful tool for building influence in personal and professional relationships. A classic example of this is giving small gifts. Imagine you've just received a small, thoughtful gift from a friend or colleague. Even if the gift isn't something you were expecting or even particularly need, there's a natural inclination to return the gesture. Whether it's with a gift of your own or a kind gesture, reciprocity pushes us to repay others for their kindness. Marketers and business professionals have long understood the power of reciprocity. Think about how free samples or complimentary services are often offered to potential customers. These gifts are not just about giving away products. They are strategic moves designed to build goodwill and increase the likelihood of a purchase or future favor. Even in business negotiations, reciprocity plays a key role. If one party gives a concession, the other party often feels the need to reciprocate, leading to more favorable terms for both sides. This creates a cycle of positive interactions, reinforcing trust and cooperation. Understanding reciprocity can help you build deeper, more meaningful connections with others. By offering something small and thoughtful, you invite the same kindness and support in return. It's a simple, yet powerful way to influence people without exerting direct pressure. Recognizing manipulation. In media, the media plays a powerful role in shaping our perceptions of the world. But often the narratives presented to us are carefully constructed to guide our opinions, behaviors, and beliefs. Recognizing manipulation in media requires us to be more critical and aware of the messages we're receiving. A prime example of this can be seen in the way news outlets cover political events. The same event can be framed in vastly different ways, depending on the outlet's bias. One news channel might present a politician's actions in a positive light, while another might focus on their flaws, creating opposing narratives. This framing can shape public opinion, pushing us toward one perspective without us even realizing it. The language used in headlines also plays a significant role in influencing how we perceive information. Words like shocking, outrageous, or heartbreaking are often used to evoke an emotional reaction, steering us toward a particular conclusion. By using emotionally charged language, the media can manipulate our emotional responses and, in turn, our opinions. Being able to recognize manipulation in media is crucial for maintaining an objective viewpoint. By questioning the sources of information, the framing of stories, and the emotional appeals being made, we can better understand the motives behind the message and make more informed decisions. The hidden power of news. How headlines shape. Reality headlines have a unique ability to shape how we understand news stories. In many cases, the headline alone can determine whether we click on an article, share it with others, or form an opinion about its contents. The way headlines are written is often a deliberate strategy to evoke certain emotions or create a particular perception. Consider how a news headline about a protest might differ based on its framing. A headline like "Massive Protests Demand Justice" evokes a sense of urgency and righteousness. In contrast, "Protests Turn Violent as Police Clash with Crowd" focuses on conflict and danger, evoking fear or concern. Both headlines are about the same event, but the emotional tone of each is vastly different. The power of headlines lies in their ability to capture our attention and shape our first impression. They are often designed to elicit an immediate emotional response, whether it's outrage, curiosity, or sympathy. This is why headlines are sometimes more influential than the actual content of an article. They set the tone and frame our understanding of the story before we even read it. Recognizing the power of headlines can help us become more aware of how they influence our perceptions. The next time you read a news headline, take a moment to think about how it's making you feel and why. By being more mindful of the language used in headlines, you can better navigate the news and avoid being influenced by superficial emotional triggers. Social media and the illusion of connection. In the age of social media, it's hard to imagine a time without our daily scroll through Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. But have you ever stopped to question the reality behind the filtered images, perfect vacations, and the constant parade of seemingly happy lives? The truth is, social media often creates an illusion of connection, while in reality, it may be making us more isolated than ever. Think about it. We're constantly bombarded with curated posts of people traveling the world, attending glamorous events, or living what seems to be the perfect life. But how much of it is real? It's easy to forget that these images are often edited, staged, or carefully chosen to show only the best moments. Meanwhile, we sit on the other side of the screen, scrolling, feeling disconnected from our own reality. One real-life example is the rise of Instagram envy, where people feel inadequate because their lives don't seem as glamorous as those they see online. Studies show that this comparison can lead to feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and even depression. Social media creates a world where the illusion of connection is ever present, but the reality is far more complex and often isolating. We have to ask ourselves, how much of our time spent online is truly connecting with others? And how much is feeding into an illusion of connection, creating more distance between us and the people who are really in our lives? Social media may connect us to people around the world, but it's essential to recognize that these connections can be superficial. It's time to find real, meaningful interactions that nourish us rather than chasing an unrealistic and often lonely version of life. How fake news spreads. In today's world, fake news spreads faster than the truth. It can be a simple headline shared by a friend or a viral post on social media that gets millions of views. But what makes fake news so dangerous? The power it holds over our beliefs, actions, and society. Consider the viral spread of misinformation during political elections or public health crises. Fake news is often designed to provoke strong emotional reactions, fear, anger, or excitement. These emotions drive us to share the story without verifying its accuracy, allowing false information to spread like wildfire. A case in point is how misleading headlines about medical breakthroughs or safety concerns have circulated during the pandemic. These stories, though often false, gained significant traction because they tapped into our fears and anxieties. We shared them without hesitation, only to discover later that the information was completely fabricated. The danger lies in how fake news doesn't just deceive, it shapes our perception of reality. When we're constantly exposed to fake news, it distorts our understanding of facts, making it harder to separate truth from fiction. That's why we must approach information with a critical eye, question sources, and take the time to verify before we hit the share button. Emotional contagion. How others' emotions influence you. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and instantly felt the mood shift? Perhaps it's the anxiety in the air during a stressful meeting or the joy shared in a celebration. This is the phenomenon of emotional contagion, where emotions are transferred from one person to another, often without us even realizing it. The power of emotional contagion is especially evident in group settings. When someone around you expresses anxiety, anger, or excitement, it's easy to catch those feelings and react in the same way. This can have a profound impact on how we behave in social and professional environments. A real-life example can be seen in the phenomenon of panic buying. When people hear news that stores might run out of essential items, they rush to stock up, often causing shelves to empty out faster than necessary. This is driven by the emotions of fear and uncertainty, which spread rapidly among the group. Emotional contagion can also work in a positive direction. The joy of one person can uplift an entire group, and the enthusiasm of a team member can inspire others to perform better. The key is recognizing when emotions are being passed on and learning to manage how they influence our actions and decisions. The power of confirmation bias. We all want to be right. But what happens when our desire to confirm our beliefs leads us to ignore information that challenges them? This is where confirmation bias comes into play. It's a natural tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information that supports our existing views while disregarding anything that contradicts them. Think about how we engage with news or social media. When we see an article that aligns with our views, we're more likely to click on it, share it, and discuss it. On the other hand, when we encounter information that goes against our beliefs, we tend to dismiss it, thinking it's inaccurate or biased. A powerful example of confirmation bias can be found in political debates. People often seek out news sources that align with their political ideology and ignore those that present opposing viewpoints. This deepens divisions, making it harder for individuals to understand other perspectives. To overcome confirmation bias, we must actively seek out diverse viewpoints and challenge our own assumptions. By exposing ourselves to different perspectives, we open our minds to new ideas and reduce the risk of becoming trapped in an echo chamber of our own making. The dangers of echo chambers. We've all heard the term echo chamber when discussing the internet, but what does it really mean? Echo chambers are environments where people are only exposed to information that reinforces their existing beliefs, and they become increasingly resistant to alternative viewpoints. Online communities and social media platforms are the perfect breeding ground for echo chambers. When we follow only people who share our views and engage in discussions within groups that support our opinions, we can easily become trapped in a bubble where opposing perspectives are blocked out. A real-life example can be seen in political polarization. As people become more entrenched in their ideological bubbles, they become less willing to engage with opposing viewpoints, further deepening divides in society. This leads to a lack of understanding, empathy, and constructive dialogue. The dangers of echo chambers are clear. They limit our understanding of the world, prevent us from growing, and perpetuate harmful stereotypes and biases. To break free, we must actively seek out different perspectives, engage in open conversations, and be willing to challenge our own beliefs. Recognizing gaslighting and psychological manipulation. Gaslighting, it's a term we often hear, but do we really understand its impact? At its core, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation that makes someone question their reality, memory, or perceptions. It's insidious and often happens in close relationships, leaving the victim confused, anxious, and doubting themselves. In personal relationships, gaslighting can be subtle. It might start with small denials of events, followed by outright lies and accusations. Over time, the manipulator uses these tactics to control the victim's thoughts and actions, leaving them feeling insecure and powerless. This often leads to a situation where the victim feels they can't trust their own judgment. A case study on gaslighting often involves a romantic partner who manipulates their significant other into doubting their memory or perception of events. This can take a heavy toll on the victim's mental health, leading to depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. It's essential to recognize gaslighting early and take steps to protect one's emotional well-being. Gaslighting isn't just a tactic used in relationships. It can be present in workplaces, political settings, or even in media. Recognizing the signs, like the constant undermining of your reality or the minimization of your experiences, can help prevent its destructive effects. If you suspect you're being gaslit, reaching out for support and understanding your own emotions can be powerful steps toward regaining control of your life. The illusion of choice. How marketing control, though. Ever been in a store or on a website, thinking you're making your own decision, only to realize that the choices presented were designed to guide you toward a specific product? This is the illusion of choice, a powerful marketing tactic that gives the appearance of freedom while subtly steering you toward a predetermined choice. Marketers are masters at creating this illusion. They present a variety of options, each of which seems unique and personalized. But in reality, they've designed each option to meet a specific need, all of which lead back to their goal, making a sale. Take fast food chains, for instance. You may think you're choosing between 5 different meal deals, but all of them are created to appeal to specific consumer desires, taste, convenience, or price. The illusion of freedom in choosing is simply a strategy to make you feel in control, while, in fact, you're being nudged toward the most profitable decision. In a world where consumer choices seem endless, it's essential to recognize how much our decisions are influenced by external forces. Marketers create environments that make us feel empowered, but in reality, they know exactly what we'll choose, and they make sure we do. The power of political manipulation. Political campaigns are more than just about policies and ideas. They're also about influencing emotions, shaping opinions, and manipulating behaviors. Every election, political leaders and their teams use a range of psychological tactics to appeal to voters' fears, desires, and beliefs, often manipulating the truth in the process. A powerful case study is the use of emotional appeal in political ads. Politicians often rely on stirring emotions, fear, hope, anger, to drive their messages home. By creating narratives that evoke strong feelings, they push voters into making decisions based on emotions rather than reason. This emotional manipulation is designed to bypass critical thinking and directly influence our voting behavior. For example, negative political ads that highlight the flaws of an opponent or exaggerate potential dangers can cause anxiety and fear, making voters more likely to support the candidate who promises safety and security. Political manipulation works by targeting our emotional vulnerabilities, shaping our decisions in ways we might not even realize. For example, negative political ads that highlight the flaws of an opponent or exaggerate potential dangers can cause anxiety and fear, making voters more likely to support the candidate who promises safety and security. Political manipulation works by targeting our emotional vulnerabilities, shaping our decisions in ways we might not even realize. The role of fear in controlling public behavior. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that can influence our behavior, and it's frequently used to control how we think and act. Whether it's through news stories, advertisements, or political campaigns, fear-based tactics can manipulate public opinion and behaviors in profound ways. One real-life example of fear-driven behavior is how the media uses fear to influence public opinion during crises. Take, for instance, the spread of news during natural disasters or health scares. The constant repetition of alarming headlines can create a sense of panic, pushing people to make decisions based on fear rather than reasoned judgment. In these moments, fear is used as a tool for control. News outlets may focus on the worst-case scenarios, blowing small incidents out of proportion, all to keep viewers engaged and elicit emotional reactions. The media's focus on danger, uncertainty, and worst-case outcomes shapes how we view the world and influences our decisions. To avoid falling victim to fear manipulation, it's important to approach media consumption with a critical mindset. Understanding the role fear plays in shaping our perceptions allows us to reclaim control over our reactions and make more informed, thoughtful decisions. The danger of overconsumption of information. We live in an age of constant information. Whether it's the news, social media, or even the latest updates from our favorite blogs, we are bombarded with more information than we can possibly process. While staying informed is important, overconsumption of information can have detrimental effects on our mental health and overall well-being. The mental toll of constantly consuming news and media is significant. Studies show that individuals who consume too much information, especially negative news, are more likely to experience anxiety, stress, and even depression. The constant barrage of information keeps our minds in a heightened state of alertness, making it difficult to relax or think clearly. A real-life case study can be seen in the impact of 24-hour news cycles. The relentless coverage of tragic events, scandals, and sensational stories leads to information overload. We feel the pressure to stay updated, which can create feelings of overwhelm and helplessness. To protect our mental health, it's essential to limit our information intake and take breaks from the constant flow of news. The psychology behind addictive content. In today's digital world, we are constantly exposed to content designed to capture our attention, and it's all engineered to be addictive. But what makes social media apps and websites so hard to resist? The psychology behind addictive content is rooted in our brain's reward system. Every like, share, or notification triggers a release of dopamine, the feel-good chemical that encourages us to keep coming back for more. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook have refined this process. They're designed to keep us scrolling with features such as infinite feeds, personalized recommendations, and push notifications. These features create a cycle of instant gratification, reinforcing our need for more. The algorithms that power these apps learn our preferences, showing us content that we are most likely to engage with, further strengthening this addictive loop. In the long term, this constant stimulation can result in a decrease in attention span, feelings of anxiety, and an overall reduction in mental well-being. Understanding how content is crafted to keep us hooked is the first step in regaining control over our digital habits. Setting boundaries around screen time, taking social media detoxes, and practicing mindfulness can help break free from the cycle of addictive content. How advertising manipulates your desires. Ever felt like you needed something after seeing a commercial or an ad? That's no accident. Advertising taps into deep psychological triggers, often manipulating our desires to make us feel incomplete without their products. Marketers use powerful tactics to create a false sense of need, making us believe that buying their products will bring happiness, success, or a better life. One of the most common strategies is associating a product with an aspirational lifestyle. Think about luxury cars, high-end fashion, or even fitness products. Advertisers don't just sell a product, they sell an image. They show us the perfect life that can supposedly be attained by purchasing their product. The emotional connection they create makes us think we're making a logical decision, when, in fact, we're buying into a manipulated desire. A real-life example can be found in beauty product ads, which often depict models with flawless skin, promoting the idea that their product is the secret to attaining such perfection. The underlying message: without this product, you're missing out on an idealized version of yourself. Understanding these manipulation techniques allows us to become more critical consumers and make choices based on true needs, not artificial desires. Overcoming the fear of missing out. We've all experienced it. The anxious feeling that we're missing out on something amazing, while others seem to be living their best lives. This phenomenon is called FOMO, or the fear of missing out, and it has become more prominent with the rise of social media. But why does FOMO affect us so deeply? The fear stems from our innate desire to belong. Social media creates an environment where we constantly see curated, highlight reel moments from other people's lives. We start to compare their experiences to our own, which can create a sense of inadequacy or the belief that we're missing something essential to our happiness. The constant exposure to others' perfect lives reinforces the notion that we're not doing enough or experiencing enough. FOMO can have a negative impact on mental health, leading to anxiety, low self-esteem, and even feelings of loneliness. One of the best ways to overcome FOMO is by practicing gratitude and mindfulness. Focusing on the present moment and appreciating your unique experiences can help shift the focus from others' lives to your own well-being. The dangers of comparison, social media, and self-esteem. In the world of social media, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. We scroll through our feeds, looking at carefully curated snapshots of other people's lives, and before we know it, we start measuring our worth against theirs. But this constant comparison can be harmful to our self-esteem. Social media is a highlight reel. People only share their best moments, vacations, new clothes, milestones, and it's easy to forget that everyone has their struggles behind the scenes. When we compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, we're setting ourselves up for feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth. The danger lies in the way these comparisons can affect our mental health. Studies show that people who engage in social comparison on social media are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and a negative body image. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, it's essential to focus on our own growth and appreciate the unique qualities that make us who we are. Understanding cognitive dissonance. Why we justify manipulation. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort we experience when we hold two conflicting beliefs or behaviors. It's the inner tension we feel when we act in a way that goes against our values or beliefs. To resolve this discomfort, our brain comes up with ways to justify the contradiction, often leading us to manipulate our own thoughts and behaviors to align with our actions. A case study of cognitive dissonance can be seen in consumer behavior. Imagine someone who values environmental sustainability but continues to purchase fast fashion items that harm the environment. The conflict between their actions and values creates cognitive dissonance, so they might rationalize the behavior by telling themselves, "Everyone does it," or "It's not that big of a deal." This psychological phenomenon explains why we sometimes justify actions that go against our core values, even when we know better. Recognizing cognitive dissonance in our own lives allows us to take steps toward aligning our behaviors with our true values, creating a more authentic and harmonious life. How corporations and governments use influence. From the commercials you watch to the laws that shape your daily life, influence is everywhere. But few people truly understand how deeply corporations and governments shape behavior without us even realizing. The techniques they use are not always overt. They're often embedded in narratives, policies, branding, and social cues that nudge us toward certain decisions. Corporations tap into psychology to sell not just products, but lifestyles. Think of how brands sell more than clothing. They sell confidence, identity, and belonging. Government influence is subtler still. Language, repetition, and emotional appeal are tools used in political speeches and public campaigns. Over time, these messages shape how we think about what's right, normal, or even patriotic. A real-world example. Consider how wartime propaganda has historically portrayed certain groups or nations to gain public support, or how a simple phrase like "war on drugs" can condition people to support policies they don't fully understand. Even everyday slogans like "just do it" influence more than purchasing decisions. They mold mindsets. Being aware of these strategies isn't about paranoia. It's about awareness. When you understand how influence works, you take back control over your choices. Psychological warfare. The use of fear and control. Psychological warfare isn't just about soldiers or spy games. It's about fear, control, and manipulation, often in everyday life. The goal is to weaken your mind before anything else. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions, and when it's manipulated effectively, people comply without even questioning why. Governments, corporations, and even personal relationships can weaponize fear. Think of fear-based headlines in media. They stir anxiety and push us to act irrationally. During conflicts, psychological warfare is used to break the morale of the enemy. Tactics like spreading false information, staging events, or threatening future violence are all meant to destabilize the mind. A chilling example. During war, false radio broadcasts have been used to confuse and demoralize opposing troops. In civilian life, constant fear-driven news cycles keep people stressed, isolated, and easier to influence. Understanding psychological warfare means recognizing when fear is being used as a weapon. That awareness creates mental armor, because once you see it, it loses its power. How to spot propaganda. Propaganda doesn't always come with flags and posters. It lives in headlines, social media posts, speeches, and even memes. Its goal? To influence how you think, often without your awareness. It usually appeals to emotions more than logic: fear, pride, anger. It oversimplifies complex issues and frames the other side as wrong or dangerous. Propaganda often repeats messages until they become beliefs. And in today's world, it spreads faster than ever before. During wartime, governments used posters showing the enemy as monsters. But now, it's more subtle. A viral tweet, a sensational headline, or a manipulated photo can be just as powerful. In political campaigns, watch for loaded language, exaggerated claims, or promises with no substance. These are all signs. Real-life example. Consider how misinformation spread through social media has shaped public opinion on global issues, from elections to pandemics. Learning to spot propaganda doesn't mean rejecting everything. It means asking, what emotion is this message triggering? Who benefits if I believe it? The power of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the quiet superpower most people overlook. It's not about being emotional. It's about understanding emotions, yours and others. It's what helps you manage stress, navigate conflict, and connect deeply with people. People with high emotional intelligence don't react impulsively. They notice their feelings, reflect, and respond thoughtfully. In relationships, this leads to trust and respect. In leadership, it fosters loyalty and empathy. And in daily life, it protects your mental space. A case study: think of a leader who stays calm during a crisis. They acknowledge fears, validate emotions, and communicate clearly. That's emotional intelligence in action. And it transforms chaos into clarity. It's not fixed. You can build it. Through mindfulness, honest reflection, and listening without judgment, you strengthen your emotional core. And once you do, influence becomes something you manage, not something that controls you. How to build mental resilience. Life throws storms. Mental resilience is what lets you stand firm when it does. It's not about avoiding struggle. It's about how you face it. Some people break under pressure. Others bend and come back stronger. The difference? Resilience. It starts with mindset. People who are resilient don't see failure as the end. They see it as feedback. They don't deny pain. They confront it, but they don't let it define them. Mental resilience is built through experience, reflection, and support. Consider real-life examples like athletes who've lost everything only to rise again, or survivors who've turned trauma into purpose. These people didn't have superpowers. They had the will to adapt and grow. You can develop resilience by reframing challenges, setting small goals, and taking care of your mental health daily. Journaling, exercise, connection. These aren't just habits. They're lifelines. Resilience doesn't mean being unaffected. It means choosing how you respond. And that choice, moment by moment, builds an unbreakable core. The importance of setting boundaries. We often think strength lies in saying yes, being available, helpful, and agreeable. But what if true strength is in saying no? What if real mental control begins the moment we draw a line? Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to healthier relationships and self-respect. Yet so many of us fear setting them. Why? Because we confuse kindness with compliance. But here's the truth. Without boundaries, people take more than you're willing to give. And slowly, you begin to lose yourself. Consider a young woman who always said yes to overtime, to family demands, to friends who only called when they needed something. Her life looked full from the outside. But inside, she felt drained, unheard, and used. Until one day, she reached her limit. That's when she learned a powerful lesson. If you don't choose where your energy goes, others will choose for you. She started small, saying no to unnecessary meetings, turning her phone off after work, creating quiet space each morning. It wasn't easy. People pushed back. Some got angry. But something remarkable happened. She began to feel whole again. Her anxiety lessened. Her confidence returned. She finally felt in control, not because the world changed, but because she did. Setting boundaries is not a rejection of others. It's an acceptance of yourself. It's the practice of honoring your time, your energy, your needs. And it's a skill, one you can build. It starts with awareness. What makes you feel drained? What causes resentment? Those are signals, signs you're giving too much. Boundaries don't make you cold. They make you clear. Clear about what matters. Clear about what you're not willing to sacrifice. And the clearer you are, the more peace you will feel. So the next time someone crosses a line, pause, breathe, speak your truth, calmly but firmly. Your mind is not a playground for others' chaos. It's your home. Protect it. Because when you set boundaries, you don't lose people. You lose the ones who were never really with you. And in return, you gain something much greater, yourself. The role of self-awareness in mental control. Self-awareness isn't just a buzzword. It's the foundation of every mental breakthrough you've ever had. It's the quiet observer in your mind asking, why did I react that way? What am I feeling? What do I really want right now? But in a world filled with distractions, it's easy to forget to check in with ourselves. We rush, we scroll, we avoid, and without realizing it, we begin to live on autopilot, reacting instead of responding, repeating patterns instead of reshaping them. Now imagine someone who lived this way for years. Let's call him Ethan. Ethan was successful on paper, a good job, a busy life, always achieving. But inside, he felt disconnected. Every day felt the same. Emotions came and went, like waves, stress, irritability, even emptiness. And he couldn't explain why. One day, on a friend's recommendation, Ethan began journaling, not writing novels, just 5 minutes a day. He wrote what he felt, without judgment. Then he started practicing mindfulness, simply observing his thoughts during moments of stillness. And slowly things began to shift. He noticed when stress was building before it exploded. He recognized that his frustration wasn't with others, but with himself. He learned that his ambition was masking insecurity. And with that awareness, he gained the power to choose, to respond differently, to let go, to shift habits that had once ruled him. That's the power of self-awareness. It doesn't eliminate problems. It gives you the insight to deal with them. It allows you to notice your patterns before they become your prison. And over time, it builds inner strength, not through force, but through understanding. So how can you start? Pause more often. Reflect daily. Ask yourself better questions. What triggered that emotion? What story am I telling myself? And don't be afraid of the answers, because the truth, even when uncomfortable, is your path to freedom. Because once you become aware of your thoughts, your behaviors, your triggers, you're no longer a puppet of your past. You become the sculptor of your future. Why we must question authority. From childhood, we're taught to listen, to follow rules, respect leaders, trust the system. And while guidance can be helpful, blind obedience is dangerous. Because when we stop questioning, we stop thinking. And when we stop thinking, we become easy to control. History is filled with examples, some inspiring, some terrifying, of what happens when people challenge authority or fail to. Take the famous case of the Stanford prison experiment. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo created a mock prison and assigned college students to be either guards or prisoners. Within days, the guards, ordinary people, began abusing their power. The prisoners accepted their mistreatment. No real crime, no real authority, just roles, and belief in those roles. The experiment had to be shut down early. It revealed how quickly people surrender their morals when told they're just following orders. It also showed how those in power can lose empathy when they aren't questioned. But there's a brighter side, too. Think of Rosa Parks. One small act of resistance, refusing to give up her seat, helped spark a movement. Or whistleblowers who risk their careers to expose corruption. Or everyday people who say, "This doesn't feel right," and speak up. Questioning authority doesn't mean being rebellious for the sake of it. It means thinking critically. It means asking, who benefits from this rule? What's the intention behind this message? Is this right? Or just familiar? It means trusting your values more than someone else's title. In a world where leaders, institutions, and even media can mislead or manipulate, the ability to question isn't just a skill, it's a form of mental self-defense. Because the moment you stop asking why, someone else starts deciding how you should live, what you should believe, and who you should be. So stay curious, stay alert, respect authority, but never worship it. True strength lies not in following orders, but in knowing when not to. How to practice emotional detachment. Real-life example. How detachment helps people protect their mental health. Some emotions are meant to be felt deeply, but others, they consume us. They trap us in cycles of overthinking, anxiety, and reaction. That's where emotional detachment comes in. Not as numbness, but as clarity. A conscious choice to protect your peace. Take the example of people working in high-stress environments, like emergency responders or therapists. If they absorbed every emotion they encountered, they'd burn out fast. Instead, they learn to care without carrying, to listen without losing themselves. That's emotional detachment in action, and it's something anyone can learn. Emotional detachment isn't about being cold. It's about recognizing when your emotional energy is being drained by situations, people, or thoughts that don't deserve that power. It means asking yourself, is this worth my peace? One technique is observing, not absorbing. Picture your thoughts and emotions as clouds drifting by. You don't need to chase them. You simply watch. This mindfulness practice teaches your brain not to get stuck in every feeling that passes through. Another method, boundaries. Emotional detachment grows when you stop trying to fix everyone. Stop reacting to every insult, and stop proving your worth to people who never see it. You start to say, "This is not mine to carry." Even in relationships, detachment is powerful. It gives you the ability to love someone without losing yourself in them, to walk away from chaos, even if your heart begs you to stay. The truth is, emotional chaos often comes from attachment to outcomes, to approval, to control. When you let go of those attachments, your inner world becomes quiet, balanced, free. Emotional detachment isn't a weakness. It's a superpower. It allows you to walk through storms with your soul intact. Because you can't control how others act or how the world behaves. But you can control your mind, your reactions, and the peace you protect, like gold. Mental discipline doesn't start with motivation. It starts with structure, and that structure is built through routine. Every strong mind you admire, it's backed by daily habits that act like anchors in chaos. Take the case of Navy SEALs or elite athletes. Their lives aren't ruled by willpower alone. They're ruled by routine. They don't wait to feel like it. They train at 5 a.m. They reflect at the same time every night. Their minds follow rhythms that keep them sharp, focused, and prepared, no matter what life throws at them. But you don't need to be a soldier or Olympian to build mental discipline. The secret is consistency. A small morning ritual, even something as simple as journaling or stretching, sends a signal to your brain, "I'm in control." Routine simplifies choices. When your mind knows what comes next, it saves energy. That's why successful people wear the same outfits, eat similar meals, or block time for deep work. It's not boring, it's brilliance. Because fewer decisions mean fewer distractions. Routines also create emotional stability. When everything else feels uncertain, your habits keep you grounded. That's mental discipline, doing what needs to be done, even when the mood is missing. The hardest part? Starting. But once your brain gets a taste of clarity, you'll crave it. Over time, routines evolve into identity. You stop saying, I try to stay focused, and start saying, I am focused. That shift, that's discipline becoming part of who you are. And yes, life gets messy. But disciplined minds adapt. They don't quit the habit. They adjust it. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's showing up, even if it's messy, short, or quiet. Routine is where mental strength is born. It turns chaotic minds into focused machines. It transforms vague dreams into daily action. Build the routine, and let it build you. How to avoid the trap of perfectionism. Perfectionism wears a mask of excellence, but behind it lies constant fear. Fear of not being good enough, not fast enough, not perfect. At first, it feels like a strength. You strive for the best. But soon, the pressure builds. And when you're never satisfied, the mind begins to break. Take Emma, a young designer. She obsessed over every pixel, every word in her presentations. Her work was brilliant, but she was exhausted. She redid things 10 times, chasing something that didn't exist. Eventually, she burned out, not because she was lazy, but because she never felt anything was good enough. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about fear of failure, fear of judgment. It whispers, if it's not flawless, it's worthless. But that mindset destroys creativity and breeds self-doubt. You begin to avoid risks, not because you can't do them, but because you're scared of doing them imperfectly. The cure: progress over perfection. Done is better than perfect. Mistakes, they're data. Growth doesn't come from flawless results. It comes from showing up, messing up, and adjusting. Start small. Set limits. If you revise something more than twice, move on. If fear is your driver, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Free yourself. Your worth isn't in perfection. It's in your presence, your effort, your willingness to try, again and again. The power of saying no. We're taught to be agreeable, to help, to say yes, to be available. But here's the trap. If you always say yes to others, you slowly start saying no to yourself. Meet Kevin. He was the go-to guy. For favors, extra work, late-night calls. People loved him. But inside, Kevin was drowning. No time for rest, for reflection, for his goals. He was exhausted, not because he had too much to do, but because he couldn't say no. Saying no isn't selfish. It's essential. It's a boundary, a filter. It protects your energy from being scattered everywhere, but where it matters. When you say no to things that drain you, you say yes to focus, peace, and mental clarity. You regain control over your life. You stop reacting and start choosing. Practice with small steps. Say no to a plan that feels forced. Say no to work that isn't yours. Say no to guilt when you take time for yourself. People might push back. They're used to your yes. But over time, your boundaries teach them how to treat you. And more importantly, they teach you to respect yourself. Your life isn't a canvas for everyone else's brush. Learn to protect the space where your own masterpiece unfolds. Mastering the art of patience. In a world that rewards speed, patience feels like weakness. But what if waiting, not rushing, is the real superpower? Consider Jenna, an investor. Years ago, she almost sold her shares, during a market dip out of fear. But she paused, waited, listened to her strategy. Years later, her patience paid off, not just in money, but in peace. Patience isn't passivity. It's strength held back. It's trusting that not all things are meant to happen now. That timing is a dance, and the mind must know when to move and when to wait. Impatience creates noise, impulsive choices, regret, anxiety. Patience brings clarity. It allows space for the mind to process, observe, and act, not react. So how do you build it? Delay small gratifications. Wait a few minutes before checking your phone. Breathe when something frustrates you. Don't speak right away. Set long-term goals and resist shortcuts. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Mastery takes time. And patience? It's the mental soil where all of those things take root. How to escape the victim mentality. Life isn't fair. We all face pain, loss, betrayal. But here's the truth. Staying in a victim mindset keeps you chained to the very thing that hurt you. Take Raj. He lost his job unfairly. At first, he blamed the system. He replayed the injustice daily. But months later, he was stuck. Not because of what happened, but because he had handed over his power to it. Victim mentality says, I can't. It says life happens to me. But when you shift that, when you ask, now what can I control? Something changes. Responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means owning your response. You can't always choose what happens, but you can choose what happens next. Reclaiming power starts with language. Say, I'm responsible for how I move forward. Say, I choose. Then take action. Any action. Start something new. Learn. Heal. Even if it's slow. Every step moves you from victim to victor. You're not what happened to you. You are what you do with it. Reclaiming your power. Becoming the master of your mind. Your mind is the most valuable space you own. And the most targeted. Advertisers want it. Manipulators want it. Fear, distraction, comparison. They all compete for control. But what if you took it back? Alex did. He realized that his thoughts were shaped by what he consumed. Toxic media, endless scrolling, fear-based news. So he cut it out. He started meditating, journaling, learning, and something clicked. He began to think for himself. Mastering your mind starts with awareness. Notice what triggers you. Question your beliefs. Step back from reactive emotions. Then comes discipline. Mental control doesn't mean suppressing thoughts. It means choosing where your mind goes. You become the driver, not the passenger. You won't get it perfect. But every moment you choose to slow down, to reflect, to breathe instead of react, you reclaim a little more of yourself. Power isn't about dominating others. It's about no longer being dominated by your own mind.